The glare of the torch showed me that the pirates had possession of the house and provisions. There were 6 of them, so these men were all that was left of the mutineers. Most of them were standing, sleepy and confused. One was lying on the floor, deadly pale with a blood-stained bandage around his head. The parrot sat on Long John's shoulder.
"Jim Hawkins, shiver my timbers!"
exclaimed Long John.
"Dropped in to see me, eh?"
I stood looking at them, my back against the wall, and I was certain my friends were dead. My heart ached because I hadn't been there to die with them. Long John Silver lit his pipe.
"Now, Jim, I've always liked you. You remind me of myself when I was young. I always hoped you'd join me and my men, and now I think you must. The captain doesn't want to see you again, and I heard the doctor call you an ungrateful scamp. So you can't go back to your friends."
My friends are still alive,
I thought joyfully.
"Your fate is in our hands,"
continued Long John.
"but I never threaten. If you like our company, you'll join. If you don't, Jim, why, you're free to answer no."
Well,
I said, growing a bit bolder.
if I'm to choose, I have a right to know where my friends are.
"Yesterday morning,"
said Long John,
Dr. Livesey came to me with a flag of truce. He said, "Captain Silver, your ship's gone." We looked out, and by thunder the ship was gone. "Well," says the doctor, "let's make peace." We bargained. So here we are with everything. The food, the brandy, and the firewood you were thoughtful enough to cut. As for your friends, I don't know where they are.
He puffed on his pipe.
But Jim, you weren't included in that treaty. The doctor said, "I don't know where that boy is, and I don't care."
And now I must choose?
I asked.
"You must choose,"
replied Long John.
Well, there's something I need to tell you first.
"Speak, boy,"
ordered Long John.
A ship has been lost. Treasure lost. Men lost. And all your plans have been ruined. If you want to know who did it, it was me. I was in the apple barrel when we sighted land, and I heard you, Long John, and you, Dick Johnson, and Israel Hands, who's now at the bottom of the sea. And I told the captain every word. I cut the ship's anchor line and killed the men aboard. Kill me or spare me. But I'll say this, if you spare me, I'll do the best I can to save you all when you men are before a judge. It's for you to choose. Kill me and do yourselves no good, or spare me and keep a witness to save you from hanging.
I stopped, out of breath, and no one moved.
Long John,
I added,
if you decide to kill me, please let the doctor know I died bravely.
"I'll bear it in mind,"
said Long John, in a voice that sounded so peculiar that I couldn't tell if he was laughing at me or had been impressed by my courage.
"Let's kill him!"
yelled one pirate. He sprang up and drew his knife.
"Stop!"
shouted Long John.
"Do you think you're the captain here, Tom Morgan? Don't cross me, or you'll be food for the fish."
Morgan paused, but the others were grumbling out loud.
"Do any of you want to challenge me?"
Long John roared.
"Well, I'm ready. Take a cutlass, any who dares, and we'll see the color of the inside of your stomach."
Not a man stirred. Not a man answered. Then Long John continued.
"I was elected captain because I'm the best man here by a long sea mile. You won't fight me? Then by thunder you'll obey. I like that boy. He's more a man than any of you rats. Touch him, and you'll be sorry."
My heart was beating like a sledgehammer, but now I had a ray of hope. Long John calmly leaned back against the wall, but his eyes never left the men. The pirates huddled together and started whispering in low hisses. Once in a while, one of them would look up nervously at Long John. Finally, one pirate, a tall fellow, spoke up.
The crew is dissatisfied, and we claim our right to hold a meeting outside. You know the rules.
The pirates saluted and left. One after another, the rest followed his example, saluting and marching out the door, until Long John Silver and I were alone.
Now, look here, Jim Hawkins,
Long John whispered.
You're close to death, and even worse, torture, but I'll stand by you.
I dimly began to understand.
You mean they're going to kill me?
I do,
he answered.
I'll save you from them, if I can, but you must save Long John from hanging.
I'll do what I can,
I said.
It's a bargain,
cried Long John.
By thunder, I've a chance.
He hobbled to the torch and lit his pipe again.
Understand me, Jim,
he said, returning to his seat.
I'm on the squire's side now, because I know you've got that ship safe somewhere. I'll ask no questions, and I won't tell the others. Ah, you are so young. You and I might have done a powerful amount of good together.
He poured himself some brandy.
Why did that doctor give me the map, Jim?
I looked so surprised that he knew I had no idea what he was talking about.
Ah, he did,
said he.
There's some reason why, no doubt. Some reason, surely, Jim, bad or good.
Long John took a swallow of the brandy and shook his head like a man who looks forward to the worst kind of luck. I was spying on the pirates meeting through a musket hole.
They have a knife and a book,
I said. The group started walking back to the house.
Here they come.
Let them come, lad,
Long John Silver said cheerily. The 5 men came in and pushed one man forward.
Hand it over, lad,
Long John cried.
I know the rules.
The pirate passed something into Long John's hand.
The black spot. I thought so,
he said, looking down.
Where did you get the paper? Don't tell me you've cut this piece out of a Bible. What fool would cut up a Bible?
I told you, swabs,
yelled Tom Morgan.
we shouldn't use a Bible. Nothing good will come of doing that.
You'll all hang now, I reckon,
remarked Long John.
What stupid swab had a Bible?
It was Dick,
someone mumbled.
Well, Dick's luck is cursed now,
said Long John. The tall pirate stepped forward.
This crew has given you the black spot,
he said.
Read it, then you can talk.
Ah, George Merry,
Long John replied.
Let me see. It says deposed. Very well written. Is it your handwriting, George? Why, you'll be captain next, I guess.
Don't try to be funny,
George growled.
You're done being captain. Stand up and vote.
I thought you knew the rules,
shouted Long John.
But if you don't, I do. Your black spot isn't worth anything unless you state your complaints and I reply. After that, we'll see.
First, you've ruined this voyage,
said George.
Second, you let the enemy escape. Third, you wouldn't let us chase them. And then fourth, there's this boy.
Is that all?
Long John asked quietly.
That's enough,
George retorted.
We'll all swing and dry in the sun because of your blunders.
I ruined this voyage, did I?
Bellowed Long John.
Well, if things had been done my way, we'd be aboard the Hispaniola tonight, every man alive and well, with a treasure in the hold, by thunder. But who crossed me? It was Job Anderson, Israel Hands, and now you, George Merry. And you have the nerve to complain? You sank all of us.
Long John Silver paused, and I could see by the men's faces that they were listening intently.
That's number one,
Long John yelled, wiping the sweat from his brow.
I'm sick of you. You've neither sense nor memory. You aren't pirates, you're a bunch of ladies at a dance.
Watch your tongue, Long John,
said Tom Morgan.
You say this voyage is ruined?
Long John continued.
It is, and we're so near the gallows, my neck is stiff just thinking about it. And it's thanks to Merry, Hands, Anderson, and the other fools.
Go on,
said Tom Morgan.
What about the other points?
Number two, you all came crawling to me to make peace with the others, and you'd have starved too if I hadn't. Number three, there's a great deal to say about number three. Maybe you don't want a real doctor treating you every day. You with your head broke, or you, George Merry, who was ill just 6 hours ago, your eyes the colour of a lemon. And number four, that boy. Shiver my timbers, he's a hostage. Do you want to waste a hostage who might be our last chance? Killed that boy? Not me, mates. And perhaps you don't know, but there's another ship on the way. Won't we be glad to have a hostage when it comes? But that's a minor reason. Look there. That's why.
And he threw down a paper I instantly recognized. The map I'd found in the captain's chest.
Why had the doctor given it to Long John Silver?
I wondered.
That's the map!
Someone yelled.
Let me see it.
Another shouted. They jumped on it like cats on a mouse, passing it back and forth.
It's beautiful,
Dick cried. They acted as if they were counting the gold coins already.
That's Flint's writing,
observed Tom Morgan.
Mighty pretty, said George. But how do we get away with the treasure if we have no ship?
Long John Silver sprang up.
Oh, so now you want my opinion? Well, I don't want to hear another word from any of you. You, George Merry, and the rest who stupidly lost the ship can go hang. None of you has the brain of a cockroach, so you can just keep your mouths shut.
Now, Long John,
said Tom Morgan.
You lost the ship. I found the treasure.
Long John roared.
Who's the better man? And now I resign, by thunder. Elect whom you please. I'm done.
Long John Silver!
They cried.
Silver for captain!
So now you want me?
Long John bellowed.
What about this black spot? It's not much good now. Dick spoiled his luck for absolutely nothing.
Can I kiss the Bible to take away the curse?
Asked Dick hopefully.
A Bible with a page cut out,
Silver said scornfully,
is no better than a songbook, lad.
Long John turned and handed me the piece of paper.
Here, Jim, keep this as a souvenir.
The paper was round. One side was blackened with wood ash and had a Bible verse that contained these words. Outside are dogs and murderers. The other side was blank, except for the word deposed written on it. I still have that souvenir as I write this tale.
George,
Long John said,
guard the house and do a good job or we'll kill you.
Soon after, we lay down, but I couldn't sleep. Tossing and turning, I could see the remarkable game Long John was playing. Keeping the pirates together with one hand and trying to save his miserable life with the other. But Long John peacefully snored, and as danger loomed all around us, all I could see was the gallows awaiting him. A voice calling from the woods woke everyone, including George Merry, who was supposed to be standing guard.
Ahoy there!
I ran to a musket hole and looked out. It was the doctor.
Good morning to you,
Long John called out good-naturedly.
You're here bright and early. Your patients are doing well, sir. And we have a surprise for you. A little stranger, fit as any young lad should be.
Dr. Livesey climbed over the fence and approached the house.
Jim? The very same,
Long John said. The doctor stopped for a moment and then said,
Well, business before pleasure. Let's see the patients.
Dr. Livesey entered, gave me a nod, and proceeded to treat the sick pirates as if he was on an ordinary visit to a quiet English family.
And now, I'd like to talk with that boy, please.
Dr. Livesey nodded carelessly in my direction. George Merry, still making a face at the bad-tasting medicine, swung around and yelled,
No!
Silence!
Long John roared. Then he turned to me.
Hawkins, will you give your word of honor as a young gentleman, for that is what you are, that you won't escape?
I promise,
I said.
Step outside the stockade, Doctor,
commanded Long John.
I'll bring the boy to you on the inside. You can chat through the fence.
When the doctor left the house, the pirates exploded in anger and suspicion.
You're trying to double-cross us!
Shouted, and we both walked out.
Walk slow, lad,
he said quietly.
They'll jump us if we hurry.
We advanced to where the doctor waited on the other side of the stockade. And as soon as we were within easy speaking distance, Long John stopped.
Make a note of what I'm risking here, Doctor,
said he.
The boy will attest that I saved his life. A good word from you could save me from the hangman. But believe me, it's not only my life I'm concerned with here, it's the boy's too.
Long John's voice trembled, and with his back to his friends in the house, he looked like a different man.
Why, Silver, are you afraid?
Asked Dr. Livesey.
I'm no coward, no, but I don't want to hang. You won't forget the good I've done, will you? I'll leave you and Jim alone now.
Long John stepped back and sat on a tree stump, where he could keep an eye on me and the doctor, as well as on his unruly friends.
I don't blame you, Jim,
the doctor said.
But when Captain Smollett was well, you didn't dare run off. Then when he was ill, you did. That was cowardly.
Please, Doctor, I'm sorry.
I said, weeping.
But I'd be dead if Long John hadn't stood up for me. I don't mind dying. Maybe I deserve it. But I do fear torture, and...
Jim,
the doctor interrupted.
Jump over the fence and we'll run for it.
No,
I said.
I gave my word.
Blame me. It'll be my shame. But I can't let you stay,
he said.
Jump! One jump and we'll run like antelopes.
No,
I replied.
I promised I'd go back. But, Doctor, let me finish. I got the ship back. She's in North Inlet. If they torture me, I'm afraid I might tell where the ship is.
The ship!
The doctor exclaimed. Quickly, I described my adventures, and he heard me out.
Jim, you've saved our lives,
said Dr. Livesey.
We're not going to let you lose yours.
He looked up.
Silver!
He called, and Silver drew near.
Don't hurry to get that treasure.
My life and the boys depend on finding it,
said Long John.
It will go badly for you if you get near that treasure,
warned the doctor.
What?
Long John said.
I've done everything you told me to do, and yet you've never given me a word of hope. Tell me what you're planning so I can prepare myself.
No,
answered the doctor.
I can't say any more, but I'll give you hope. If we both get out of this alive, I'll do my best to save you from the hangman.
Long John Silver's face was radiant.
Thank you, sir. Keep that boy beside you and shout when you need help. Now, I'm off. Goodbye, Jim.
Dr. Livesey shook my hand through the fence, nodded to Long John, and set off into the woods. In his pockets. He tied a rope about my waist to keep me close as we walked. I felt like a dancing bear. We all set out, even the fellow with the head wound, carrying picks, shovels, and supplies to the shore boats. The pirates and I got in, and as the boats moved along the shoreline, Mary and Morgan discussed the...
We'd proceeded about half a mile when, suddenly, one of the men cried out, as if in terror.
Everyone ran in the direction of the screams.
He can't have found the treasure,
Morgan said, hurrying past us. We soon saw the cause of the man's terror. At the base of a big pine tree was a human skeleton, with a few shreds of clothing still attached. A chill struck every heart.
He was a seaman,
George Merry stated, examining the rags.
This is good sailor's cloth.
Aye, but why is he lying that way?
Asked Long John. The man's bones lay perfectly straight, his feet pointing in one direction, his hands raised above his head, pointing in the opposite.
Ah, I know. Here's the compass, George,
Long John said.
There's the point of Skeleton Island, sticking out like a tooth. Just take a bearing along the line of the bones.
George Merry took the bearing.
The body points straight in the direction of the island, and the compass reads east-southeast and by east.
It's a pointer!
Long John shouted. All of a sudden, a thin, high, trembling voice struck up a well-known tune.
15 men on a dead man's chest, yo-ho-ho, and a bottle of rum.
The song stopped as suddenly as it began. Instantly, the color drained from every pirate's face. Two leaped to their feet, and the man with the bandaged head grabbed at the pirate next to him in fear. Tom Morgan crawled on the ground, trying to find a place to hide.
It's Flint,
George Merry cried.
His ghost walks!
Come now, this won't do,
croaked Long John, struggling to get the words out with ashen lips.
I don't recognize the voice, but someone's trying to scare us. Someone who's flesh and blood.
Long John's courage came back as he spoke, and the others nodded, less fearful now. Their spirits soared, and the pirates grabbed their tools and started off again. George Merry led with the compass to keep them on the right course. But Dick, who was very scared and feeling more ill from his malaria, still held his Bible.
You spoiled your Bible. It can't protect you now, said
Long John with a sly grin. All of us started walking downhill through the pines, great and small.
2 of these tall trees are wrong by the compass bearings,
Long John said.
But that 3rd tree is tall enough. Almost 200 feet. It must have been a landmark for sailors out at sea.
The thought of the treasure erased their fear, and they started to run. A whole lifetime of riches and pleasure lay waiting for them. Long John hobbled on his crutch. His nostrils quivered, and he cursed like a madman as he pulled my leash.
Come on, boy!
He's not even pretending,
I said to myself.
He'll seize the treasure, find the Hispaniola, cut every honest throat, and sail away.
I was too haunted by the human tragedy that had happened here to keep up with the pirates.
How this peaceful place must have echoed with screams,
I thought. Long John jerked the rope again and gave me another murderous look. Dick dropped farther behind as his fever got worse. We were now at the edge of the woods.
Hurry, mates! Run!
George Merry shouted up ahead. And suddenly, not 10 yards further, the men stopped, and a low cry arose. Long John doubled his pace, pounding through the dirt with his crutch until finally, he and I came to a dead halt as we joined the others before a huge hole.
It's old,
I thought.
The sides have fallen in, and grass is growing on the bottom.
Then I saw a broken pick and the boards of several packing cases. One board was branded Walrus, the name of Flint's ship. George Merry choked.
Someone beat us to it! The treasure's gone!
Each man looked as if he'd been punched, but with Long John, the shock seemed to pass almost instantly.
Jim,
he whispered, passing me a pistol.
Stand by for trouble and stick close.
So you've changed sides again.
I whispered back as I untied the rope around my waist. Long John didn't answer. Jumping into the pit one by one, the pirates threw the boards aside and began digging with their fingers. Tom Morgan found one small gold coin.
One stinking coin?
He shouted as he tossed it to the nearest man.
Is that all?
George Merry roared.
That's our $700,000 worth of gold?
Dig away, boys,
Long John said coolly, moving so that we were atop the steeper, harder to climb side of the pit.
You'll find some tasty nuts down there too, I bet.
Nuts!
George Merry screamed. He pointed accusingly at Long John.
He knew the treasure was gone the whole time!
The pirates scrambled out, and there we stood, Long John and I on one side of the pit, the 5 angry pirates on the other.
Mates,
George Merry said,
that swab brought us to this miserable island. Let's kill him and his young friend!
He raised his arm to signal the others to charge. But just then, crack, crack, crack! 3 musket shots flashed out of some nearby trees, and George Merry tumbled head first into the pit. The man with the bandage spun like a top and fell dead. The other 3 turned and ran. Long John took out his pistol and fired 2 shots into George Merry as he struggled to get out of the pit.
George, I reckon I've settled with you.
The doctor, Abe Gray, and Ben Gunn emerged from the trees with smoking muskets.
Hurry, lads,
commanded Dr. Livesey.
We have to beat them to the boats.
We set off at a fast pace, plunging into the woods, as Long John hobbled on his crutch behind us. His strength as he tried to keep up was astounding. He never stopped, even though his chest must have felt ready to burst.
Doctor, wait!
Long John called when we finally paused for a moment. From the plateau, we could see the 3 pirates running toward Mizzen Hill. And since we were closer to the boats than they were, we waited until Long John caught up.
Thank you, Doctor. You came in the nick of time,
Long John said.
So it was you, Ben Gunn.
Yes, replied the marooned man, embarrassed.
How are you, Mr. Silver?
Ben,
Silver murmured.
Good to see you, mate.
Gray,
the doctor said.
Run back and bring us one of the pickaxes they left behind.
As we proceeded to the boats, the doctor told the story of the missing treasure.
Ben Gunn's our hero. He found the skeleton. He found the treasure, dug it up, and carried it on his back from that tall pine to his cave. It's been there for over 2 months.
Bashful, Ben Gunn kept his head down as we walked.
I got this secret out of Ben after the attack at the stockade. The next morning, when I saw the ship was gone, I gave the useless map and possession of the stockade to Silver. We moved to the safety of Ben Gunn's cave to guard the money. As for you, Jim,
the doctor continued,
I knew you would suffer when the pirates discovered the treasure was gone. So I left the squire to guard the captain in the cave, while Gray, Ben Gunn, and I raced to the tall pine. But you and the others were too fast. So Ben Gunn ran ahead and played the part of Flint's ghost, which delayed matters until Gray and I could get into position.
Lucky for me, Hawkins was there,
said Long John.
You would have let them cut me to bits.
Without a doubt,
Dr. Livesey agreed cheerily. We reached the boats, and the doctor, with the pickaxe Gray had, demolished one of them. We boarded the other and set out for North Inlet to check on the ship. As we passed Rum Cove, we saw someone on shore outside Ben Gunn's cave.
It's the squire!
I waved and started cheering.
Hip hip!
Hooray! We all shouted. We finally sailed just inside the mouth of North Inlet, and there was the Hispaniola.
The tide lifted her!
I cried.
She's standing straight as ever.
There's a problem with the mainsail,
Gray said.
but she'll get us home. After I drop you off at Rum Cove, I'll go back to the ship.
So, we rowed back to the cave. The squire came out to greet us, saying,
I'm glad you're safe, Jim.
Long John saluted politely. Trelawney gave him an angry look.
You're a villain and an imposter. I was told not to prosecute you, so I won't. But those dead men will haunt you.
We entered the large, airy cave, and before a big fire lay Captain Smollett. In a far corner, shining in the firelight, were great heaps of coins and gold bars.
I know of 17 men who died for that.
I thought.
And how many more? How much blood, sorrow, and cruelty was involved? No one alive can tell.
You're a good boy, Jim,
the captain said.
but I don't think you and I will go to sea again. Is that you, John Silver? What brings you here, man?
I've come back to do my duty, sir,
replied Silver.
Ah,
was all the captain said. That night, we dined on Ben Gunn's salted goat meat with fruit and wine from the Hispaniola.
No one has ever been happier,
I declared.
than we are right now.
And there was Silver in the corner, eating heartily and joining quietly in our laughter, the same eager-to-please seaman I'd met in Bristol. The next morning, we started moving the gold to the Hispaniola. Abe Gray and Ben Gunn went back and forth with the shore boat, while the rest of us kept piling it up on the beach. The gold was very heavy. I couldn't carry any of it, so I kept busy packing the coins into bags.
There are so many different coins from so many different countries,
I thought.
I think all the kings of Europe must be represented here.
For 2 days the work went on, and on the third night, as Dr. Livesey and I were walking on the beach, the wind carried a strange, shrieking noise through the darkness.
Heaven help them,
the doctor said.
It's the mutineers. They're singing.
All drunk, sir,
said Long John, who had decided to follow behind us.
Drunk or insane,
the doctor answered gruffly.
Right you are, sir,
agreed Long John.
But it hardly matters which.
My feelings may surprise you, Mr. Silver,
retorted Dr. Livesey.
But if I was certain they needed me, I'd go and help them, no matter what the risk.
And you would be wrong, sir,
Long John said.
You'd lose your life. I'm on your side now, and I don't want to see our side weakened, let alone see you die. Those men down there couldn't keep their word, and what's more, they wouldn't believe you would keep yours.
Perhaps not,
snapped the doctor.
Though we all know how you keep your word.
That was all we heard from the pirates until, one day, a gunshot sounded a long way off.
I suppose they are hunting,
said Squire Trelawney.
Do you think they have enough to eat?
It doesn't matter now,
replied Captain Smollett.
We must leave them on the island. We cannot risk taking them with us.
Good! Exclaimed Ben Gunn.
I agree,
Gray said with a nod.
There's a good supply of gunpowder and shot, a few pounds of salted goat meat and medicine,
noted Dr. Livesey.
And other necessities, tools, clothing, a spare sail, and a mile or two of rope. We can also leave them some tobacco.
Not long after, the day came for us to leave the island.
We've stowed all the gold on board, and we have enough water and goat meat,
Gray reported,
It's a fine morning to pull up the anchor,
said the squire.
And there's the Union Jack!
Shouted the captain with a smile as we sailed out of North Inlet, flying the same flag we'd fought under at the stockade. The three pirates must have been watching for us, because as we sailed out to sea, they knelt together on the southern strip of sand and raised their arms.
Don't abandon us!
They begged,
It pains me to leave them, but we cannot risk another mutiny,
declared the squire.
And to take them home to be hung at Execution Dock would be a cruel sort of kindness,
said Captain Smollett.
We left food in the cave,
The doctor shouted to the pleading pirates.
Dr. Livesey!
Squire Trelawney!
Captain Smollett!
They cried.
For
God's sake! Be merciful!
don't leave us here to die!
At last, when they saw the Hispaniola wouldn't stop, one pirate put his musket to his shoulder and sent a shot whistling over Long John Silver's head and through the mainsail. After that, we kept our heads low, and when I looked out again, the island had melted out of sight. We headed for the nearest South American port to hire new sailors and anchored at a beautiful landlocked gulf after sundown. The doctor, the squire, and I went ashore and had such fun that we didn't get back to the ship until early morning. As soon as we returned, Ben Gunn reported,
Long John is gone. I helped him escape in a shore boat to save your lives. You were all in danger if that man stayed aboard.
I suppose we should thank you.
the squire said.
Is that all?
No, he admitted. He didn't go empty-handed. He took a sack of gold coins.
We looked at each other.
Actually, I'm glad we got rid of him so cheaply,
said the doctor. We hired some new men and made good time home to Bristol.
Mr. Blandley will just be thinking of coming after us,
said Squire Trelawney as we landed.
Of all those who sailed, only 5 men returned,
observed the captain. Dr. Livesey nodded.
Drink and the devil had done for the rest, most definitely.
Not quite as bad as that other ship they sang about,
I said.
but one of her crew was still alive, of the ship that sailed with 75.
All of us got an ample share of the treasure, and used it wisely or foolishly according to our natures. Captain Smollett retired from the sea. Gray saved his money, and he's now part owner of a fine ship, married, and the father of a big family. Ben Gunn spent or lost all his money within 3 weeks. He ended up in a small village, and he still lives there, singing in the church every Sunday and on holidays. We heard no more of Long John Silver. He probably met up with his wife, and perhaps still lives with her in comfort. As I said at the beginning of my tale, there is still treasure on that island, so I won't reveal the location. All the bars of silver that remain on Treasure Island are where Flint buried them. But the devil himself could not drag me back to that cursed place. I still have nightmares whenever I hear the booming of the surf on the coast. And then I sit upright in bed with the sharp voice of the parrot ringing in my ears.
Pieces